Another day, another sleigh. I finally finished the Skypiea arc of One Piece, and I am so excited to tell you everything that I thought about it. So let's go. Stop. Will I ever stop crying over animals in this? I don't think so. So far, I'm not doing too great. Right at the beginning, Skypiea feels like it's going to be a fun adventure in this Sky Island, and yet it's Oda, so obviously there's always going to be a deeper theme in it. And that was true again in this one. It was an exploration of colonialism, immigration, abuse of power, and faith, and also kind of the abuse of faith's power. Right off rip, when we get to Skypiea, everything feels really, really off from the way that there was an entry fee, but they were still let through, and then they were immediately reported, to the way that Konis and Pagaya were so kind, but then everyone else was like, you are a trespasser, you shouldn't be here. There's all these crimes you have committed now. So there's all these rules that really don't make a lot of sense, and there is this insane punishment for just being where you quote unquote don't belong. And really, if that's not commentary on like worldwide immigration systems, I really don't know what it is, because that whole entry fee system to me is very, very similar to how the current immigration process is in the United States, which is it's not easy and it's also extremely expensive, and we know what's going on. Then we meet Enru, this god who claims, divinity and is preying on the Sky People's faith in the Kami, even though he really is just a devil fruit eater who is ruling people by fear and abuse of his power and violence. He's a perfect symbol of turning faith into a weapon, because I feel like we got the sense that everyone that is a citizen knows that he is not a good person, but they can't really do anything about it, or they feel like they can't. We see it from the military powers where, when they were escaping, they said that majority of the times they really just did what they could so that no one would incur his wrath. And that really just shows us how these leaders are in this world. It's like no one is a good leader whatsoever. Then we get the Shandians, the so-called villains of the Sky People, the secondary villains of the story. And then we figure out that really they are just displaced people who had been fighting for their homeland. The whole story of Upper Yard made me really, really upset, because it's this island that was ripped up from where they originally were, shot up to a place that they were not comfortable with, and then immediately they were attacked for their land's resources and driven out. And that was so just fucking depressing to see, and another injustice that we see Luffy essentially try to right in his own way, even though he wasn't even trying to do that. Now, what made this arc like really, really pack an emotional punch to me was the backstory of Nolan and Kalgra, because they were two leaders who found a common ground with their friendship. Essentially, they both had an understanding of what the other needed, and it was so beautiful to see that blossom, and then also really depressing to see it break apart essentially by nature, and then them not ever reuniting was really, really sad. And Nolan's demise was also just fucking depressing, because I truly feel like if Nolan had had the time, if he had not been executed, he would have found Upper Yard. He would have found Skypiea. He seemed like such a fucking smart character who was constantly on the lookout for new things to learn, so I really do think he would have been able to do it. Their story was such a great reflection of how easy it is to lose history because of so many reasons. In this one, I would say it's because of an inept ruler who only cared about conquering gold and getting richer for himself. Here's Nolan's tale, and all he cares about is the fact that there was gold at this place. And honestly, I do question a little bit what Nolan's goal was in going back there with, this king who just wanted to conquer Shandora's gold. I wonder what would have happened if Upper Yard hadn't been ripped up and sent to Skypiea, but we'll never know. Robin's discovery of the bell made me really, really happy for her as a character, because now I feel like she really has a goal to reach. Obviously, we saw at the beginning of this arc that she didn't want to live anymore, and she was just essentially there for the ride, and to see that goal placed back and to see how excited she looked about that coming back to her, it was just wonderful. And now she's got a place in Luffy's crew because of it. And then Luffy's resolve to ring the bell for Cricket was beautiful. Like, truly, Luffy continues to do things for anyone that comes into his life. If he can make someone happy, he's going to do so, and he just continues to surprise me in the best ways possible. I saw a lot of discourse surrounding this specific arc, with people thinking that it was slow and not the best arc, and I just really can't agree with that because I felt like this art gave us one so much understanding of the world again. Obviously Jaya was a huge island before, and then it was split apart, and that gave us more understanding into another insane part of the Grand Line. And we got to learn more about the poneglyphs, and I really do think that these poneglyphs are going to get us all the way to the Grand Line. I feel like these are going to play a big part in the story. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe that's completely off base, but so far they've shown up twice in the last two big arcs, so I can't imagine that it's not an important plot point. Like, to see that Roger's name was in that was so cool, and to just again have someone else say that Luffy like carries the same will as Roger is just like, yeah, it gets me so excited for what's to come. So I mean, it makes sense that this is how we're getting there, because from what I've experienced is Oda really just likes to leave breadcrumbs for us to pick at. It's very much like, here, theorize and figure out something, but also I'm not going to give you the answer because that would defeat the point of my storytelling. You know what I mean? So yeah, all that to say, I had a really good time reading this one. I loved the world building. I love all of the characters that we met. I thought the world of Skypiea was beautiful. It was so cool to learn, how everything worked and how they lived up there. And yeah, so I am going to move on to the next one. And also, I do have to say, I love the cover story of this one. Of course, it was Ace. My man, I love him. I'm gonna for sure watch the episodes where it covers that cover story of him still looking for Blackbeard. And yeah, I'm gonna move on to the next one. I'm sorry for taking so long getting this video out. Sometimes life gets in the way and I can't read as fast as I want to. So maybe you'll get an update tomorrow. Maybe it'll be in a couple days. I don't know. Okay, bye.